The Nashville Predators lost in brutal fashion to Leon Draisaitl and the McDavid-less Oilers last night. On today's Locked On Predators, we'll share a very surprising thing Andrew Brunette said after the game, and we'll diagnose what is going wrong in these first 10 games of the season.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of this day. We're, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this, 1st of November episode. Woo. Welcoming any first-time listeners and giving a shout out, of course, to our everydayers and our Locked On Predators Insiders community. We appreciate your support. We love talking Preds hockey with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, you know I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lincoln, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Well, Halloween night brought hockey tricks, but absolutely no treats for Nashville Predators fans as Nashville lost by a score of 5-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. On today's show, of course, we will share our one word to describe the game. We're also going to hear from Andrew Brunette on the state of the team. Emma and I are also going to tell you what we think's wrong with this Preds team that is 3-6-1 in their first 10 games. And we will check in with the panic-o-meter. Before we dive into all of that, want to let you know that you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Emma. Super not fun. Great costumes at Bridgestone Arena last night. I love there were some people dressed up in giant boxes with little PVC straws, and it said juice box, and it had a picture of UC Saros. So shout out to that costume. That was amazing. But the rest of the product last night at Bridgestone Arena, not so great. 5-1 loss to the Oilers. It felt about how you think that would look mathematically. So, Emma, kick us off. What is your one word to describe the 5-1 loss last night to the Oilers?
Ugly.
Yes.
It was ugly. They were very disconnected. There was just no, I think synergy was the word that Andrew Brunette used. There was just no synergy with that group.
As in lack of.
Yes.
Synergy,
so I think, it was ugly. One of their worst performances of the year, easily. And whatever moment or whatever momentum they may have had from, that 4-game point streak, they won 3 and then they had the overtime loss to Tampa, looked to be completely gone.
Yeah. My one word is pit crew. Because, I'm not a big NASCAR fan. You drive in a circle. I don't get that. But anyway, pit crew, they pull in to pit row, and then you have this team of people, and everybody has a job, and everybody works together to get that car back out and racing. Everyone knows what their role is. So, the tire jacking person isn't really super invested in, hey, is the fueling guy topping off all right? Or the tire changer doesn't go, let me go and help the guy who's carrying the tire over. Do your job. Everybody do your job. This team last night looked like a pit crew that was intoxicated, had never met each other, and really didn't know what the skill set was. It was... Everybody was struggling. Like, players are not only struggling to do their own job, but you get the sense that, like, part of the problem is, like, the chief mechanic is looking at the tires instead of the engine last night. Like, it was a drunk international pit crew. I don't even know what else to say. Like,
that's a great way to describe it. They looked like, you and I talked after the game, and we we're like, okay, Roman Yossi looks like someone kicked his puppy.
He does.
Brady Shea looks like he's fallen in a hole and can't get out.
Yes.
And the rest of these guys look like they've never touched a puck before or met each other
Met
before.
each
And
other.
it's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is it is so fun. It's just the shock, almost the frustration, they look dumbfounded in the post game because they're like, this was so bad. And we're like, yes, it really was. Of course, we always reach out to our insiders for their one word. Rebecca, completely on the same page with you. Emma, her one word, ugly. Henry's one word was behind. We were playing from behind the whole game, not just the score, but it was like panic hockey. There was no composure or confidence. And we had talked on yesterday's show. We knew going into this game, as does everyone in the NHL right now, Connor McDavid off the ice for approximately 2 to 3 weeks with a lower body injury. But that actually turned out to work almost, I wouldn't say in Edmonton's favor, but sometimes when you have a big piece like that go down, it can either kind of cripple your team or it can motivate your team and say, we don't have McDavid. That's okay. And you saw the we don't have McDavid. That's okay. Edmonton Oilers last night, led by none other than the mayor of Nashville himself, Leon Draisaitl. Like, we are going to have to give him a key to the city at some point. And
Just
nobody
put
wants to, but
just put his statue outside next to Pekka, honestly. Like, I think, it's a good point that you bring up that like a team can kind of go one of two ways when something like that happens. And it was definitely a complete effort. I was in the Oilers locker room post game, and that was kind of their general message was that
Mhm.
it was a team effort. I mean, you saw I think it was 11 different Oilers players had a point in the game.
Mhm.
That's a complete effort from throughout the lineup. You saw a couple guys, including a familiar face, Victor Arvidsson,
Yep.
Zach Hyman, both got their first goals of the season. um Noah Philp, who was making his NHL
Yes.
debut, got an assist on Corey Perry's goal. So
Welcome
it
to the NHL.
yes, so it was good night for them, good team effort, but I think that it was just yeah, and I don't want to speak for them, but it almost seemed like they were surprised by I don't, again, no one said this, but like by how bad Nashville was. Like it was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we were expecting a bigger challenge than it was.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that, McDavid or not, I think Nashville was not in any position to be taking their foot off the gas, and they absolutely did. And I agree, they looked panicked, they looked discombobulated, they just looked like they had never met each other before.
Yeah. Drunk international pit crew, my friends. Yeah. Leon Draisaitl, 2 goals, 1 assist. At one point, I thought we're gonna just give him the Hattie. Can you imagine if Connor McDavid had been playing and this is how the Nashville Predators showed up? Dear God.
I don't know. I mean, it's almost one of those things. It's kind of a familiar problem for the Predators because we saw it in the last couple seasons, honestly, that they play to the level of their competition. And it's, again, not saying that the Oilers without McDavid are bad, because they're not. But I mean, like, they had weaknesses that Nashville could have exploited. The one that they did exploit in the first period, Philip Forsberg scored on the power play. Great, cool. I mean,
Love it.
Edmonton has the worst power play in the league, or the worst penalty kill in the league. So, like, I would hope you'd get at least one against them. But their goaltending, again, for the second game in a row, they have now made Calvin Pickard, no disrespect, but they made him look like Connor Hellebuck out there, and he's not.
Yeah.
So it's just like failing to kind of capitalize on these weaknesses and be able to showcase their own strengths, I think.
Yeah. It definitely looked like Pickard is, in the Vezina conversation and UC Saros is the backup last
Yeah.
night because he just, again, hung out to dry a couple of times, just in egregious fashion. Here's the thing that really shocked me, and I'm not going to lie, I've really been chewing on this particular comment from Andrew Brunette from the post game, Emma. And he was talking about what is going on with this team. And you and I have kind of jokingly said on the show, like, Andrew Brunette has trust issues. And when we say that, we're usually referring to he's not playing, some of these younger players. But this is what he had to say post game about trust. And I quote, "The way we play, we trust each other. And right now, the trust is a little bit broken. We're kind of doing some things on our own. And the way we play, when you're doing that, it makes it real hard to be connected." End quote. I have to say, the trust is a little bit broken. And you see that disconnect. And that's a word, we share our one words for the game to kick off the show. That is actually one word that we are going to talk about coming up. It's a word that we heard over and over again in the post game. We're going to tell you what we think that means coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Gametime. Look, if you are looking forward to seeing a better performance from the Nashville Predators this season, or if you just want to make some great family memories with a live event, you have got to check out all of the deals available at Gametime. Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to get tickets for your favorite sports, music, theater, and comedy. Gametime has this great feature. It's called Gametime Picks that makes getting those tickets even easier. Gametime Picks just filters out all of the fluff, and it's only going to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you're not wasting time searching through thousands of ticket options. Gametime has great deals right now on tickets for all kinds of sporting events in the area, from college football to the Tennessee Titans, and of course, Nashville Predators games. There are also tons of great concerts and shows available at Bridgestone Arena, the Grand Ole Opry, and the Ryman that you can check out at Gametime as well. Gametime has a low price guarantee and the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. So, Emma, we, of course, sharing our one word. And the one word that we are hearing over and over again from this team is disconnected. And it has taken me a little bit of time to figure out what they're talking about. I'm like, do you not know each other's signs? Like, who's a Scorpio? Who's a Leo? Like, what are you talking about? You have met. Most of you have played before together. But in kind of breaking down the game in their sad fashion last night, they're really talking about that 5-man unit on the ice. And that unit is very disconnected. And I thought it was interesting hearing them sort of explain it. So I want to play this video clip. This is Bruno and Yossi talking about being a disconnected team right now. This is what they had to say.
What made us so good, or gave us a chance to play in the playoffs, was that we were connected, and as 5-man units, we are back checking, our tracking, we had determination. It was we were all buying into kind of what we were doing.
We're not playing as a 5-man unit. We're not playing as a team right now. It's kind of, I don't know. It's almost like every guy's on their own page, and I think that's what made us so successful. Like I don't want to talk about last year, but like the way we played as a 5-man unit, the forwards were connected, and there's not a lot of that right now.
The way we play, we trust each other, and right now, the trust is a little bit broken. We're kind of doing some things on our own, and the way we play, when you're doing that, it makes it real hard to be connected.
I think that gives you a little bit more insight into what it is that's not working with the Nashville Predators as compared to last year. And you don't want to compare seasons. This is a very different team than it was last season. But a majority of the players played this system and with a familiar line mate or two last season. So it's been hard to figure out what is not working. And now it's like, okay, it's not necessarily like chemistry with your line mates. I think the problem is bigger than that still, I think, and unfortunately.
Yeah, it really is hard to, pinpoint though, because it's, it's one of those things where, like you said, everyone is kind of driving their own car and everyone's doing their own thing. But then at the same time, like, it's almost like they all out there have ADD, and it's like it's like, all right, I'm going to drive my own car. Oh, wait, what's this guy doing? And then and it just looks very, very disconnected, which we've been saying. And it's hard because, one thing I've been seeing a lot is fire Brunette. It's the
Oh, Lord.
coach's fault. It's the coach's fault. He needs to coach better. It's like, well, we've seen that he can, that he is capable of coaching this team to be connected and to play well together. I mean, we saw it last year, but I think this is one of those things that, like, you can't coach necessarily. I mean, you obviously you can to a degree, but you can't teach it. And it's one of those things that needs to come with time. It needs to come with, and I know that Predators fans, and I understand, are not in any mood to be patient anymore. It's been 3-6-1. It's not good.
Not great.
I mean, I just think it's one of those things that, you can't, it doesn't just click right away. And I'm not saying that, oh guys, just wait, like it'll definitely click. Right now, I don't know. But I'm saying that the only way to know is to give it enough time to see if it works. And I think that it has to come with a lot of introspection from the players. It has to come with maybe, I know when I worked for the team and I traveled with the team, the kind of loss that they had to the Oilers last night is the kind of loss that would prompt a players only meeting. And that's not to say that, oh, let's all talk bad about the coach and get him fired, which I think a lot of people for some reason think that's what it means.
Yeah.
No, it's about, okay, this is our issue. This is an issue in this room. It's an issue on this team with these guys. It's not the coach's issue. Not saying that he doesn't have any responsibility here, but I think that it's one of those things that these guys need to figure out themselves. Like it's like when you have, when you have a kid and a parent, and it's like, okay, yes, the parent has some responsibility for teaching their child how to behave and whatever, but the child has to actually do it for,
Right.
it's not just like, I don't know. It just, to me, it seems like this team needs to have some kind of come to Jesus with each other and just be like, all right, what are we doing here? Because, like, we need to all get on the same page. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what's happening, in those closed door conversations, but I think it's one of those things where they just need to kind of have some kind of mental reset. And I don't know exactly what that looks like for this team.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Roman Yossi's countenance last night was so bothered, very bothered. And if you think this team doesn't care, you are wrong. If you think Andrew Brunette is like, yeah, they'll figure it out, you are wrong. Very bothered, very confused. And I agree with you. It is almost like you need a Control Alt Delete 10 games in with what is going on, because I do think for a while, we can say, oh, it's chemistry, but I think this isn't about chemistry. I think this is about something, dear heavens, even bigger. Last year, if Emma and I had a nickel for every time we heard the phrase, we're pulling the rope in the same direction, we would not be working on this podcast or any other job. We would be living on a beach somewhere. We would be filthy, stinking rich. Because was that not what they talked about in that stretch run? and through the rest of the season and into the playoffs. Hey, we know we are all pulling the rope in the same direction. Every guy's pulling the rope, but they're not doing that yet. Like every guy is not really pulling the rope, and it is not a lack of care. It's not a lack of knowledge. It is, and I think Bruno may have hit it. Maybe it is some sort of underlying trust issue. Like we're trying to compensate for somebody else in that 5-man unit who may not, who we're not sure is going to do X and Y in their particular role. And that's a big issue for a team to overcome. And it has to come, like you said, that has to come from the players. Has
And
to.
it does. And I think, it's one of those things where you almost kind of wonder if it has to do, I mean, I'm sure it does to some degree have to do with the expectations of this team are
100%.
drastically different this year than they were last year. And
Mhm.
so, and they're very aware of that, that as much as I actually appreciate that. I don't think a single player we've talked to this year has been like, oh yeah, we don't worry about that, whatever, like locker room speak. No, like they are very aware. And I think that to a degree has affected them, whether they want it to or not. It has had a huge impact because they're aware not only of the expectations of the team, but they're aware of the quality and caliber of the individual pieces that have been brought in. And it's like, oh shoot, we gotta play up to this level. We have to make these guys look good. And it's like the panic is very evident.
Mhm.
And when I say panic, I mean on ice panic, not that they're panicked about their future necessarily, but I think it's more just like, oh, we have to figure this out. We got to play, we got to win, we got to get the puck to this guy so he can do this thing. And it's just like, it's got to come from the players, that kind of reset.
Yeah. And I think everybody can relate to the fact that when more eyes are on you, you become more self aware in a way that can be detrimental, in a way that can make you in hockey grip your stick a little too tight, that can make you think, make you say, I don't think I want to do that play. Or, I'm going to skate down to the Matt Duchene corner and circle around with the puck instead of I'm going to battle in front of the net. Like, there are things with those expectations that consciously, unconsciously really do affect you. And that's true of everybody. That's just true of people in life. So I do think there is an element of that. So, we're talking 3-6-1, 10 games in. And again, a team that came into this season with high expectations. Emma and I, we have preached patience. But last night we got to hear from Andrew Brunette and the players about what they're feeling 10 games in. And you might be surprised to hear what they have to say. We'll talk about that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it is all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Emma, you and I want to say, have practiced and preached patience. Patience, young Padawans. Like, this team needs time. They're looking for the ketchup at Trader Joe's. Okay. We need some patience. But last night, in the post game, talked to some of the players, talked to Andrew Brunette about 10 games in. You're building chemistry. are you starting to panic? You might be interested in what they had to say. This is what Yossi, Shea, and Bruno had to say about being 10 games into the season.
It's a little concerning, to say the least. Trying to be patient, trying to find things that work. There's been times where it looks like we're sort of getting close, and then there's times like tonight where it doesn't look like we're even close. So, yeah, I'd say it's a little concerning.
We got to start playing our game and start dominating games, play that style of hockey, and we haven't been doing that. And we can't keep saying, oh, we got to find chemistry. Like, it's 10 games in. It's time to do it now, and we got to do it. Start next game.
Yeah, it's gotta change quick here. We got to get connected. 10 games is enough time to do that and to be on the same page. So obviously you got to learn from this and turn the page and need a really good effort next game.
So it seems like maybe in the locker room, they're not talking about patience as much as Emma and I are talking about patience. What do you take away from their responses to where this team is 10 games in, Emma? And how are you feeling about where this team is 10 games in?
Well, I'm not feeling good. That's for sure.
Great.
I think that, I think it goes back to your earlier point, Anne, about it's not for lack of care or lack of concern. They are all concerned. And I think that, again, two things can be true. It's bad right now. It is bad. And I'm not sugarcoating that. They have played poorly. The loss to the Oilers, maybe the Seattle game was in there, but I would say arguably the Oilers loss was worse because they should have had more time to be connected by now. I think that, like I said, two things can be true. It can be bad right now. It can get better with each loss, and not just loss on the score sheet, but with the performance like they had against Edmonton. I become less and less confident that they are going to figure it out, or that they're going to figure it out in time. And I think that, again, this is something that it's a situation a lot of these guys haven't been in before, because it's like they have these superstar players on their team now who have a lot of attention on them and who they feel, maybe that whole pulling the rope in the same direction thing was not, it's like, oh, this guy's going to pull the rope for us. We just got to get it. We just got to hand him the rope and let him do it. And that's not what's happening. And so I think that it's kind of throwing everybody off. And again, I think that they can get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I am less and less confident about, how quickly they'll be able to do that.
You watch this team through these first 10 games, and of course 0-5, not where you want to start. But then in the 3 wins, and even I would say in the overtime loss to Tampa Bay minus the first period, which was a dumpster fire, you saw the team starting to feel like, okay, they're taking some steps towards being the team that's pulling the rope in the same direction. But then you have a game like Edmonton last night where there is really not many signs in that game of this team being connected. And you start to think, okay, is this game going to be a one-off, or is this team really that far away? And that, I think, is the thing that we're going to have to watch, especially this weekend. This weekend, tomorrow night, y'all, we should play Colorado and see how that goes, because, you want a team that will tell you you're getting closer, or, oh, you are just so far away. Colorado is a team that will do that. Did they start 0-4? Yes. How have they done since then? I don't know that we really want to talk about it, but it's basically they won 5 in a row. They did lose their last 2 to Chicago and Tampa Bay. So not only do we know they can get it together with 5 wins in a row, they're coming in mad because they haven't won their last 2 against Tampa Bay and Chicago. So tomorrow night's game is going to tell you, was Edmonton an egg-laying night and the team is closer than we think, or is this worse than we thought? Emma, panic meter, 1 to 10. 10 is, dear God, It's the worst thing I've ever seen and covered in hockey. One is, y'all don't panic. We're going to the Stanley Cup. Where are you 10 games in?
I'm gonna go 6.5. Six
Okay.
and a half. Panic because it's bad now.
Mhm.
But I do think that they can figure it out.
Yeah. Remember, folks, it took them until All-Star break to figure it out last season. Now, they're not going to get another 18 game point streak because that's lightning in a bottle. So they need to figure it out sooner, but we still have time. So I would say I'm at like a 5.4. I'm a 5.4 on the panic meter. And again, tomorrow night is going to be a great litmus test. Colorado coming into town. Nashville Predators are going to see how they do against another really tough team. Can they regroup? Can this locker room get connected? Can they solve their trust issues in this short span of time? We're going to find out tomorrow night. And of course, on Monday's show, we will be back to talk about, whatever it is we see Saturday night at Bridgestone Arena. Emma, before we wrap up this episode and this week of Locked On Predators, can you let us know where we can find you and your work?
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work at Penalty Box Radio as well. That is going to do it for this week's episodes of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are going to be back Monday with an all new episode, and we'll let you know where the panic meter is then. Have a great weekend, everyone.